and welcome to the show. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. I'm kind of under the weather today. I've been spending more time on the toilet than I have anywhere else. So it's one of those days. And
well, it's also a happy ending. Yeah, it's all right.
The way that I look at it is seriously watching the Browns. My system is voiding itself of everything that I saw.
The toxins.
Yeah,
my
God.
eyes.
God Almighty, and I'm going to try to lead the show with one salient point, and because I have nothing really much to say in this program, except one thing that's bothering me.
Oh, what's bothering you? Tell us.
Whenever I start thinking, what would I do to fix the Browns? What would I do? And then I see decisions being made that don't make any sense. And then I realize it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter how many fans are threatening to stop their season tickets. It doesn't matter. Jimmy wins. He automatically wins. So I just want to point out something because nobody else is pointing this out, because they're all a bunch of paid for shills and they don't want to get on the wrong side of a thief. But I, on the other hand, don't give a fuck. So here we go. The decision was made by the Cleveland Browns to sit Jameis Winston after another one of his 8 interception performances and to start Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That decision was made, and the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, said that he would be practicing with the first unit and take all reps starting on Wednesday, which is what they do. All right? So after the game, DTR comes up in front of the press. And what does DTR say?
I don't know. What does he say? I didn't watch it.
Thompson-Robinson's calf injury, the one he had in the game that happened just a few plays into the game.
Yeah.
His calf injury was one he said after the game had been bothering him for a few days.
Okay.
So management made the choice to play a guy who had an injured calf instead of playing a healthy Jameis Winston. And what is the point
in a meaningless 3-11 season
of any of this? I really wish Haslam would die. And I know my wife would kill me. I wish that, and I don't want somebody to do it. I want God. I want God to do it.
You want James Earl Jones to strike him down.
He's a Southerner who's eating a lot of fried foods. He can keel over. What the fuck?
Yeah. The arteries just clogged.
As long as he is in charge. Let me point something else out that really bothers me. We have a situation where we bring over Jerry Jeudy, and last year it was like, oh God, here we go. Another guy who complained from the team he used to be with in Denver and an underachiever. Then Deshaun Watson gets injured, and then Jameis Winston plays, and all of a sudden, Jerry Jeudy springs to life.
Yeah, he's like an all-pro.
He's open on plays. He's catching passes. He's making big plays. And then the injured DTR, who was fully injured before the game ever started, and everyone chose to ignore it because it wasn't anyone's decision except Jimmy Haslam. The coach doesn't call the shots here. Coach is a weak-willed little ninny. I've lost all my respect for Kevin Stefanski. He can go away. I don't care if he succeeds or if he fails, but he got no fucking balls. Oh my God, my phone is even responding to what I'm saying.
What's it doing?
Siri.
Back to me.
Is it listening to you? That's creepy.
Fuck you, Google. Stop listening to me.
Alexa, what is Kevin Stefanski?
He's a mealy-mouthed loser. There's no point in analyzing things, but I do want to point something out. Because
you're going to anyway.
I was concerned at first that, oh God, it's another underperforming wide receiver. That was last, with Jerry Jeudy.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, the crazy interception thrower whose voice was heard from the Lord, and he throws the ball all over the field, and voila, the guy's open.
Yep.
And along with the interceptions come big plays. So Jerry Jeudy then has to sit there with DTR and be ignored for the game.
Yep.
Even if he's wide open, it doesn't make any difference. There was a play in the game in which Woods, the receiver number 81, was wide open and DTR didn't see him. This is going to be what you have from now until the end of time. But think in the past, because we've all been Browns fans for a good number of years, in some cases decades. How many guys have come to Cleveland and ended up malcontents? I mean, I look back now at Amari Cooper and I say, Amari Cooper was in fucking Oakland.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was a Raider. What a lousy organization. Never heard him say a peep. Never heard him complain. Never heard him have a bad attitude. When he was in Cleveland, what do you think about the possibility of being traded? Hey, I'm all for it. Now stop and think about OBJ. Think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the guy loved publicity and he would do anything for publicity. But when he first came to Cleveland, he was catching passes. He was being thrown to by Baker Mayfield, and he was catching passes. But by the time he was done, his father, of course, ran interference for him. But yeah, his attitude became shit. How many other receivers can you think of who started out looking like they had promise and they ended up like shit?
Josh Gordon, Antonio Callaway, Muhammad Massaquoi, Hollywood Higgins.
I mean, it's like listing every wide receiver that's ever played here.
That was pretty good off the top of my head, I thought.
I thought so too. I was really impressed. So,
Muhammad Massaquoi, that's got to be the best name ever.
So,
and Corey Coleman, God damn it!
Yeah,
but I wish I could forget these
Corey
fuckers.
Coleman.
I wish I could forget these fuckers, but they're still in my head, man. I need to make room in my head for other stuff other than this.
And how about going earlier into the Browns organization before Jimmy Haslam? Remember Andre Davis?
Andre Davis, Dennis Northcutt,
Kevin Johnson,
KJ, legend.
But I mean, we have offensive linemen who will sit there and play with this team for years and years and years.
Wasn't Andre Rison a Brown at one point?
Yeah, he was, but yeah.
It's a long story. Look it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah, he was left-eyed.
It's a long story.
Yeah, it is a long story.
I'm just trying to do him a favor.
He was so pissed off his wife burnt his house.
Yeah.
Oh, he did know. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And she
Jonathan Peoples-Jones to you, Rick May.
Oh man, DPJ.
Rick May's mentioning Braylon Edwards.
Who was the 7th round pick that everybody had a hard on for that never panned out? Carlton Mitchell. Remember him?
No.
Carlton Mitchell.
I don't even remember him.
This is the
No.
Mangini era. He was like a 7th-round pick that everybody had a hard on.
But I
for.
mean, since the team came back in 2000, 1999, 2000, I mean, but specifically with Haslam,
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, it has
Make it
been
stop.
one thing after another, and players end up with a bad attitude and stop trying.
Yeah.
And here we're seeing it again. And it makes you realize that Jerry Jeudy has the ability to be an 1,000-yard receiver. Now, I'm not so sure that Amari Cooper has done much this year because of injuries again.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't going to. He had a dead foot, didn't he, or whatever it was he had.
Yeah, I mean, but never did I hear him say, "Get me out of here!
Get me out of here!"
That's my Topaz line when he's in his crate. Get me out of here! Yeah. And let's see what Paramjot's saying. I don't understand what this means. We're literally about to let go of a Hall of Fame talent. And who would that be? Who would that be?
Are you talking Watson?
He's talking Nick Chubb, and Nick Chubb, you know.
Wow.
Oh, Nick Chubb, unfortunately, is Hall of
He's
Fame talent. Got killed by
He's
injuries.
dead. Yeah, that's unfortunate. He was Gale Sayers.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Dante Stallworth we even had.
Oh, man.
Dante Stallworth.
Oh, Myles Garrett. Well, I forgot about him. And yes, and he is gone. And well, he should be, because he has other things to do with the team that he can be successful with. You know, it was funny what Myles Garrett actually said.
Josh Cribbs.
There was, well, Josh Cribbs was a really good punt returner. He wasn't a great receiver.
No, they tried to turn him into one. He was shit.
It never really panned out. Myles Garrett.
Greg Little. Oh, God.
Greg Little.
Greg Little couldn't catch the ball, yeah. He was more like Stuart Little. Myles Garrett basically said something in his interview that was really not jumped on, but when he was talking about the offense specifically and things that needed to get done, his comment was, we need to control the ball more. Well, you know, he's an asthmatic, and he goes off the field, and 3 plays later, he's back on the field.
Yeah.
And he ends up exhausted, and that's why he has to take downs off, because he's immediately back in the game again the second he leaves the field. And nobody wants to do the unsexy thing. Everybody wants to have as many fast wide receivers as possible, and not to have a running game. And it just doesn't work that way, especially if you are in bad climates. It's and if you're playing on natural turf, which we are, and we will be for 8 or 9 more years, unless Jimmy keels over. So here's the deal. We've seen all this before, and it's all reruns with Haslam. But deciding to bench a guy, and I understand, Jameis Winston was basically making it appear that his pick sixes would be more easily controlled by the Lord than his own judgment. And I understand it's aggravating, it's annoying, and he's not the future of the Cleveland Browns. I've said this before. But if you had any doubts in your mind about whether the Browns were trying to win or not, now you have an absolute answer. And they are intentionally losing. And they're intentionally playing an injured Dorian Thompson-Robinson to make sure that Bailey Zappi would then get in, so that there's no chance that they could win. And they're not going to win again for the rest of the year. And they're not going to win next year either.
No.
This is the end. It's the end of the line. And I don't know anybody who would go through the whole Hugh Jackson thing and go through this a second time. I don't know a single fan. If you're that stupid then, you would have been part of the Heaven's Gate group. You would have been slapping on your what were they, Nike shoes
Oh God, I forgot. Yeah,
and committing mass suicide. Yeah, you
Yeah.
would do that for Haslam.
Jim Jones.
You would drink the Kool-Aid for Jimmy Haslam. And I don't feel like doing that. But this is all the same shit over and over, different names, but the same story. And you know that Bailey Zappi's going to play.
Oh God, I want him to play. Let's see what he's got.
He has nothing. I was wondering why Dorian Thompson-Robinson on a nondescript play went to the tent. Why?
Yeah, he did.
Why was he?
Yeah,
up
he
the
went
field?
to the tent.
Why? And the answer is he's already hurt before the fucking game.
Yeah. Amazing.
So you'd rather start an injured Dorian Thompson-Robinson than you would Bailey Zappi. And at that point, what does it matter? You might as well just run out Jarvis Landry like they did one year. You just might as well just put him in the backfield, because you have no healthy quarterbacks. And your quarterbacks are always injured. Take a look at what happened to Baker Mayfield, if you want to talk about Baker Mayfield, which people want to do. And you take a look at who he was throwing to and the scheme that he was in. The scheme was new in Cleveland. And Baker had OBJ that he could throw to. He had a young Njoku who he could throw to.
He did.
He had Jarvis Landry, who was not completely crippled, he could throw to. And from that came some success. Not enough success to go deep in the playoffs, but at least, I wouldn't be complaining at all if the Browns would have one competitive get into the playoff seasons every 3 years.
Yeah.
I wouldn't complain about that. Because there's always a lot of lousy teams who creep into the playoffs, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every year.
In the NBA, it's really that way. I mean, it doesn't. The playoffs doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot. But if you're not in that group, then you suck. That's what it amounts to. There's a huge separation between the folks in the middle and the folks in the bottom. And we're consistently at the bottom. And when things went from being a playoff season to an 8-9 season, and then they said, well, Baker was playing hurt. You know something? Baker knew something, because he isn't stupid. He may be obnoxious in his own way, but he's not stupid. So why would he play? Why would he be dumb enough to try to block a guy like that, tackle a guy? Why would he be that dumb and have his shoulder ripped out and insist on playing? And the Baker bros are saying, good, because he's gutsy. He's got guts and determination. It's like, no.
Moxie is the word you're looking for. Moxie.
Moxie.
Moxie is the word you're looking for.
Yeah. No, that's not why. Because when you're playing for a flaky owner, it gives somebody else the opportunity to step up. And we saw that with Joe Flacco. You're gonna get Wally pipped. It's an old baseball reference, but the guy who goes to the bench because he's slightly injured gets replaced by a future Hall of Famer, Lou Gehrig, and ends up never playing again. And Baker's like, oh no, I'm not going to be Wally pipped. No way. I'm going to go out and play even without an arm. And Deshaun Watson is saying, I don't care about my shoulder. The thing that's really funny is, how do they all get injured?
Yep.
You look at Baker Mayfield's injury and Deshaun Watson's injury. What the fuck's the difference? And Baker was never the same throwing the football in Cleveland. He was never the same after that injury. Now, over time, I've been watching him throw in Tampa, and he looks a whole lot better. But he's throwing to players who are a whole lot better. And he's still fighting to be better than 500. And in this last game, it was the team. It wasn't him. He had a good game, actually, although he did throw an interception. But it wouldn't be a game if he didn't throw an interception.
Correct.
But there's no clean games for Baker Mayfield, but there's hot and cold. He was either he wakes up dangerous or he's just plain fucking dangerous to his own team. But he played through injuries with a separated shoulder, and he couldn't get the ball to his receivers. And the same thing's true of Deshaun Watson. You may not like Deshaun Watson. I don't like Deshaun Watson personally. He's not the kind of guy who looks like a team leader. He looks like a guy who the only thing he's leading is his penis. Okay? That's the honest truth of the way I feel about him. I don't feel like he's a motivator of men. In his mind, he's a motivator of women. And it has nothing to do with his professional status, but for some reason, they're intertwined with him. So, but he wasn't the same guy out there on the field. He couldn't throw the deep ball. He couldn't get it there. It's like watching DTR. He can't throw a deep ball. Show me a deep ball that isn't like ballooned straight up in the air. It looks like a little, like a little Mighty Might football player threw it. I mean, it's like got this huge balloon arc going up and coming down. The throw that resulted in an interception because he threw to an injured Njoku, who was playing through 2 injuries when he was on the field. And DTR's like, go up and make a play. Like, there are 2 men around the ball. And it took forever for the ball to get there. It's like, just telegraphing the whole thing. He has the whole field in front of him that he could have run for a first down, but no, not DTR. DTR decided, well, my calf is kind of bothering me, so I'm going to loop one up there. I'm going to throw an ephus pitch downfield and see what happens. And of course, it gets intercepted. And those are the quarterbacks, by the way, and we've had a bunch of noodle-armed quarterbacks in Cleveland. Their balls are so easy to intercept because they're just these air puffy, soft things that float into people's arms, not into the intended receiver's arms, and there's plenty of time for the secondary to run down the receivers. They may flash open, but the ball's never there in a flash. With Jameis Winston, with Joe Flacco, they had professional strength arms. And so guy flashes open and he sees him, he throws the ball gets there, gone. Big plays. You'll never have a big play with DTR. Never. Just like you didn't with Garcia. Remember when he was the quarterback in Cleveland?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people forget about him.
He's a legend.
Yeah, this is lob it up in the air. I can't tell you how many Case Keenum quarterbacks we've had. It's like the backups that we've had. Who was the guy who was our last backup? The guy, we briefly brought him back. He was in Pittsburgh.
Oh, Jacoby Brissett?
No, Brissett was in New England. Who was the guy who came?
Oh, fuck me. No. Last year?
Yeah, it would have been. He's an African-American quarterback who was underpowered, who played initially as a backup for the Steelers.
Tyrod Taylor.
No.
Boy,
nobody in the
Josh
chat
Dobbs.
Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He looks like an alien. Yeah.
The Pasternaut, as they called him here, when he was good for 2 games.
Hello, David. I didn't see you there.
No problem, Lou. I'm good.
All right. Yeah. So Joshua Dobbs was another one. You throw the ball outside the numbers, it takes forever to get there. You could eat a sandwich and you can sit and wait.
It was like watching the Goodyear blimp fly over the stadium, watching his passes. So.
Yeah. I mean, we have a thing. And we always pick up guys who have underpowered arms. And it's really weird. We either have that or the guy, who is it, Walker? The guy we had last year?
PJ Walker.
PJ Walker.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I mean,
Texas
it's like,
Ranger.
you know who he reminded me of? Do you remember Haskins, the Ohio State quarterback?
Oh God, yeah, he's dead.
It's like,
Very-
I'm going to
he's
throw the
very
ball
dead.
into the crowd because I got a big booming arm, and it doesn't matter how many guys are there. God damn it, I'm going to throw. And everything would get picked off. That's what PJ Walker
I
was.
think you mean Cardale Jones as well. That's another one.
Yeah, well, Cardell never really got anywhere.
Yeah, we
But-
had Aaron Pryor.
Neither did JT Barrett.
Terrell Pryor. Not
Terrell
Aaron Pryor.
Pryor. Aaron Pryor
Yeah.
was somebody else. I think we had
Yeah.
both of them. Didn't we have Aaron Pryor too? I'll have to look that up. This is all confusing me.
Aaron
Then
Pryor
JT
was a
Barrett at one
boxer.
point.
He was a boxer.
He was a
Hello.
boxer. Oh
From
God.
Cincinnati, Ohio. Yes.
Tyson Fury. Yes. Yeah, he was.
Oh.
Anyways, we get older. It gets harder, doesn't it, Bronk?
Oh God. Yeah, ask me.
Yeah, but
Yeah, some
Haskins-
people think it gets softer. It actually gets harder.
Yeah, right. Haskins, when he was cut, what was he with the Washington? Is that where
Yes,
he was?
Pittsburgh.
I want to think he was one of the bozo quarterbacks there, just throwing the ball, into the other team, just crazy. And how are the Vikings good? They have the same people that were here.
Well, Tony DeCalf can answer that.
Well, when you have the best freaking wide receiver in the league, it creates opportunities for other wide receivers. Which, if you give a quarterback time to throw the ball, they can make a pass a time or two. And the defense is actually pretty good. Brian Flores, who's a good defensive coordinator, has a scheme going that is getting the best out of players. Now, I still think they're paper tiger because their schedule's pretty weak. But, hey, you got Sam Darnold as your quarterback and you're 13-2, you're doing pretty good. So,
Yeah, I'm shocked about that. But he's going to turn into a pumpkin at midnight.
Oh, they're gonna, you'll start seeing it Sunday. They might beat the Packers, but it's going to be a struggle, and they'll lose to the Lions. They're not, but everybody seems to think that, the Vikings are going to the Super Bowl. They are the number one candidate to go one and done in the playoffs.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Well, and here we go.
So are the Texans.
ClevelandBrowns.com. The team's website.
The team's website is a
Yep.
fucking shambles.
No, I mean, here's their analysis. The Browns' offense was bottled up by the Bengals. What offense? We chose to play a guy who we knew.
Oh, the Bengals were there for the taking. Any team that was halfway decent can put up 40, light the scoreboard up with it. You put the Vikings against that Bengals offense, and they put 40 on the board. My God.
Yeah,
Or defense, whatever I'm saying.
And having to listen to Stefanski after all of this crap, we got the ball down the field, and you can't do that on the 1 yard line. You can't fumble the ball like that. You can't do that. And we just know we got to go back. We just got to do better. We got to be better. Yeah, at it. I don't know why they don't have any balls. That's why the reporters should just say they should get up and leave. It's like,
Exactly.
There's nothing to quote here.
There's nothing to report there.
Or not even show up. Not even show up. And because I don't want to hear the same thing over and over again. Nobody does. But, you knew that if they ever got into the red zone, that there would be no touchdown because
There would be a turnover, yeah.
It's just the way the team is. It's the way the team will always be. And it doesn't matter if it's Stefanski. It doesn't matter if it's all the other coaches from before them who coached for Jimmy Haslam. It doesn't matter. It's the same story. And it looks the same. It feels the same. And the players wanting to leave is all the same. Now, no free agents will want to come to Cleveland, so we'll end up with the free agents that we used to get earlier in the 2000s, who were a day late and $1 short. They'd lost a step. They were slow. You name it.
We'll get the guys that are in the 80 to 100 bracket of the top 100 free agents. Those are the fuckers who will get coming here. Yeah, the Brashad Perrimans of the world.
Yeah, and again, you know, my generation will not follow these clowns, guys. You know, your generation, Paramjot, from what I can see, because my generation was not the generation of Twitter. My generation was before that, and the new generation just like to whine. They like to whine, and they like to make up trades that will never happen. That's what I've gathered on social media. It's like, and they want to make arguments about players who are long gone, who they think are better than they were. And they want to bring back people who aren't any good. And, you know, the bottom line is your generation will continue to support the Browns for no other reason than the misery associated with it. They can go on and scream on social media and make up their stupid little trades or post something to see how many replies they'll get if it's like something that will provoke and hit a sore spot in real fans, and they'll just create havoc. That's what your generation does. So the team, it actually suits your generation better if they lose, honestly, because then everybody will be able to put stuff up on Twitter, and you know, there are people in your generation, Paramjot, exclusively in your generation almost, who are still talking about Deshaun Watson. And I can't figure it out. It's like, he gone. What are you talking about him for? It never panned out. And and you know, here's Richard. Dome is a great idea. Yeah, well, you won't smell it. Absolutely. Now, O.Z. Taylor, not true, Moo. We are not about to rock with this bullshit. Well, I hope that that's the case. I hope it is. But so much of what and I'm reading less and less. I used to like to see kind of how, you know, how the environment was, what people were thinking, what the current and where it was coming from. But
yeah,
you can't do that now, because where it's coming from is just to agitate people.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's so easy to do, too. I mean, you know, it's very easy to agitate.
Gen Z will make crooked Jimmy broke. You
Well,
know what?
we're all cheering
No, they
for you.
won't.
You know, Gen Z, let me tell you, Gen Z doesn't vote. All right. I've yet to discover, besides therapy, what Gen Z really gets behind.
Yeah, Gen Z, yeah. If it were for Gen Z, fucking Trump wouldn't be elected.
Sensitivity toward fill in the blank. I mean, there are some things that I don't understand, and I've been a social liberal my whole life, but I think that it is a real troubling sign when literally millions of people don't know what gender they are. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I just think that it's really unusual. Now, I believe that there are people who, from a biological perspective, are not perfect, in the sense that, you know, I don't do God makes perfect bodies. No. That doesn't happen. But not millions and millions of them. No. And why you would have gender reveal parties, I have no idea. No idea.
My Gen Z's concern is how blatantly anti-Semitic Gen Z seems to be.
Well, I think you live
You
in
know, and a
piece of
lot of these pro-Palestinian rants, which I get the message, pre-Palestine, but a lot of them are like chanting "down the Jews" and it's borderline, 39 Germany, Nazis walking through the street calling for the extermination of the Jewish race, and we all
Yeah.
know, Mark, you're Jewish. I mean, fuck.
Well, but here's the thing, and I'm going to give them a pass for that. And the reason I'm going to give them a pass is because Netanyahu is
He's a terrible human being.
terrible. He's terrible. And I don't speak for American Jews at all because I don't believe that anybody is a chosen person. I think you work for what you get. God did not choose one group of people over another group of people. That's fucking nonsense. And if you think that that's the case, then you have a real problem. But with Netanyahu, he comes in on the hard right side, real far right, and comes in and, he whips people up by saying, we're sick and tired of bombs going off at bus stations and people being blown up and them creating these little skirmishes on the border. We're going to take care of these motherfuckers once and for all. And he starts bombing the hell out of them. But the people he's bombing have nothing more to do with the actual what it would be like. It would be like saying, we're going to get rid of the mafia, and the way we're going to do it is kill every Italian. I mean, you can't, life isn't like that. But in this slice of life that the Gen Zs have seen, Israel is the bully. They are the ones doing this. The people who scare me are the ones who are going back in time and reinventing history. But anybody who's lived as long as I have, what the Muslims have done. To each other, to Israel, to some major structures in New York City, to God knows everything that they did. Nobody gets a pass in that part of the world at all. They're a bunch of fucking warmongers and they're unstable mentally. But you see, that's the slice of life they've seen. And they weren't around to know what America was like 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago when capitalism was at least giving people a little chance to get ahead. They're living in a system that they've been fed, and that getting ahead is not the easiest thing in the world. So you stay in school for as long as you can. You live with mom and dad, and you should be angry as hell that there aren't the kinds of jobs that there used to be in this country, but nobody seems to care about that. I don't know. I think that right now they're a confused generation because they don't have any, and I'm sure that I was confused when I was young too. But I grew up at a time when there was an opportunity for people. I don't see that to be. Richards asked me, what was the number one song of Christmas 1976? I have no idea. I mean, if you ask me, if you,
it would depend on the chart. It would depend on the music chart.
Yeah, obviously. You're talking adult contemporary. You're talking about contemporary hit. You're talking about rock.
Are you talking Christmas songs?
What happened to you, Tony? Did you swallow the microphone?
No, it's just my earbuds.
What happened?
Huh?
Are you filleting the mic again?
No, I'm just on my earbuds.
No, God, it sounds all muddy like me. It's all muddy. Yeah, we can't understand what the fuck you're saying. It just sounds like you're deep throating the microphone. At any rate, I don't know. Yeah, much better. Much
The
better.
earbuds must have went on the fritz or something. Bluetooth. Blame it on
Yeah,
Bluetooth.
yeah.
And Bluetooth.
So I really don't know what the number one song of Christmas 1976. If you're going to do music trivia in the 70s, give me contemporary hit radio. If you name a song, I'll name you the artist, Richard.
Correct, yeah.
That's how we play the game. I mean,
And
novelty
we'll get to
records.
that in February,
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time.
We'll have plenty of time to do that.
And Paramjot, you're right. I mean, the 70s was a weird decade. You're coming off Peace and Love and, Woodstock, and you were moving into,
all right. Do you know when it all ended? The 60s and the 70s started? The Rolling Stones concert at Altamont, where they hired the Hells Angels. And they
that's
killed
right.
somebody.
Yeah.
That is the dividing line that you could historically look at and say, behind that was the 60s, and after that was the 70s.
Yeah.
I will die on that hill.
But it was funny because I was in high school in the 70s and college in the 70s, and it was an interesting time. You could see how things went from social concerns to more like into themselves and indulgences.
Well, that's when the Woody Allen movies started coming out, like Annie Hall and stuff like that, where it was all introspection and that sort of comedy.
Paramjot, if you couldn't get laid in the 70s, there's something terribly wrong with you. I mean, it was like a free love decade, and I just can't begin to tell you what it was like. It was an all-you-can-eat pussy buffet. I mean, quite honestly, it was a free-for-all. Then the 80s, AIDS, came into the picture, and that changed that whole thing around.
84.
And drugs became a factor in the 70s, and cocaine became the drug of choice because of the all-night discos, the Studio 54s, and things like that. And by the 80s, you start getting ways of getting synthetic forms, and you end up with crack, and then you ended up with the hillbilly heroin that was being made in people's basements. And
yeah, I mean, 1972, the Munich Olympics, that was another dividing line where no one had fucking heard of the Palestinians in America, hardly. And then they hijacked those Israeli athletes, one of which was from Cleveland. And Jim McKay does his famous line that you've
they're
imitated.
dead.
They're
all gone.
They're all gone. After he'd been awake for like about 45 hours, stuck in his chair on TV. He looked like he was going to die.
Yeah.
I mean,
thank God they're all dead. I can get some sleep now.
I go to bed now. We can joke about it now because it was 50 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was a Cleveland kid that got killed on that team. I don't know if you remember that weightlifter.
We all have a slice of life that we live in a time, and the Gen Zs are starting out in a very challenging time.
Yeah,
and it will be interesting to see where they take the country, because right now, God only knows, it's a very angry country that we live in, and
we fucked it up.
No, I mean, and people are pulling the strings and pressing the buttons to make people angry, and I'm not angry about stuff. I just
I think I'll put my hand up, and I won't speak for you, but part of the problem is that all the old fuckers, just my age and slightly older, aren't getting out of the way, and that starts from the top and the politicians. It starts at the corporate ladder. I mean, you look at Rupert Murdoch, all these old fuckers that run stuff. There's a whole swathe of baby boomers out there that need to let go.
Yeah, and I blame Rupert Holmes because he
Penis Colossus.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
he got caught
in the rain. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah, well, that's I mean, it's a different era now. We can't
stop and think about what the 70s were musically, and I got my blue jeans on. I got my old blue jeans on. Okay. And by the time
Disco duck.
I'm in radio, we're playing, it's like you got Cop Killer.
And then you got the
Yeah.
Sex Pistols in between that and the Clash, and
Yeah. You got punk rock, God save the Queen, she ain't no human being, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Things changed and things have become more and more aggressive. And maybe Gen Z can calm things down, Yeah.
I don't know. We're not handing them a good inheritance. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, the new generation of people, more and more of them are being literally diagnosed with Elon Musk disease. We're getting a lot of things like bipolarism and learning disabilities and all kinds of things.
Well,
and I'm not sure what's going on. Now, RFK Jr. would say that it was from
the worm eating his brain, yeah. But
no, or any other of the the fluoride in your water,
fluoride.
Whatever.
But no, yeah. Anyway, where was I? Getting back to yesterday when I was talking about the NBA and people not watching it, and the fact that who are the role models for these Gen Zers to watch in basketball? Because you cannot have LeBron James as your hero because he's old enough to be your fucking grandfather.
That's right.
I mean, you got to have somebody. Yeah, you got to have somebody between 20 and 25 that you can look up to, and there's no top superstar out there that age. So I looked it up, and there's only two guys from the Olympic team of 2024. Sorry, Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton that were under 25 on the U.S. Olympic team.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's why people aren't watching the NBA, because the kids have nobody to relate to. Are they meant to relate to Wembanyama? When they live in Shaker Heights or in Strongsville or East Cleveland.
I mean, Jokic is 27 years old, but he looks like dad. I mean,
exactly. These people are not cool. LeBron James cannot possibly be considered cool by anybody.
No,
he's 40 years old. He's nearly a grandfather. I mean, so I don't know who you relate to. If you're like a 12-year-old kid, who do you look up to? I have no idea.
I mean, most of them like to say they look up to Ja Morant, despite the fact he was arrested for what he did.
Yeah, well, he's not well known. He's not.
No, he's not.
I wouldn't say Ja Morant is known like a household word by hardly anybody.
I agree with that. I mean, he can occasionally get a big throwdown and all that, but he's lost.
It's no surprise to me that nobody's fucking watching this anymore, because there's nobody to watch and there's nobody to relate to.
He was walking in Memphis.
Yeah.
That guy want to fucking grab me for that.
I mean, that's why the NBA really wanted Bronny James to be really good, and he's not. If Bronny James had been as good as Ken Griffey Jr. was compared to Ken Griffey, then Bronny James would be the next biggest thing, and you would see 5,000 adverts with Bronny James in it, and he would be all over the world.
He's going to be the spokesperson for paper towels.
Yeah, Bronny.
He's going to be the Bronny guy.
He'll be the Bronny guy. I mean, they were really hoping for that, and it didn't work out, and they're still trying to pump him in the G League to get people to go see G League games.
Well, you got to have younger people with ideas, got to have younger people with ideas to help guide the league into a new generation, because right now,
exactly.
I mean, the resistance to even report on the Cavaliers is really pathetic. I wanted to say one thing about the Cleveland Browns defense, which is actually played pretty well overall against Cincinnati. But here's where the problem lies. You sack Joe Burrow, and it's Isaiah McGuire who sacks him, and it's Jawan Briggs who dives on the loose football. Who are these people?
We drafted them, but they've never played because they've not been good enough. And now suddenly they're playing. mystery, isn't it?
Did they tell Mike Hall Jr. it's like, go out there and put on a rush and just pretend your fucking girlfriend's in front of you?
Maybe. Oh, I don't know. Can we talk about the Cavs for a few minutes? Or
First,
'Cause I am
want to
gonna
say
watch
one
this
thing
game tonight.
first. Headline: Why Ohio State is the poster child for what the new college football playoffs
oh God, don't
represents.
get me started on that. I will have a 10-minute rant about college football.
No, I'm just, the season should have been over. You lost to Michigan. Your
God,
season's
yes.
over. It's done. I mean, big deal. You beat Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly.
You beat their ass in Tennessee. Well, who gives a shit about Tennessee?
No one. No one gives.
Not
a shit.
even Chumley.
No. Gee, Tennessee.
Nobody cares about Tennessee. And what does beating them mean? It means nothing. So, but that's what college football's become. It's a second chance for the big programs. Fuck that. I don't care about college football.
The champion's going to be crowned when there's a new president. That's how long this is drawn out till. It's fucking mental.
Ho hum.
They have to play 16 fucking games to get a trophy. It's ridiculous.
Your wish. We have a couple of minutes to talk about the Cavaliers, and they're playing tonight at 7:00. They're playing at home against the Utah Jazz.
Rory Markkinen and Kevin Sexton, whatever his name.
Colin Sexton.
Yeah, that's
Colin Hay was the guy from Men at Work.
All right.
Yeah,
he was from down under.
Gonna be now.
And Rick, got my Tennessee reference right away because he's a guy who just follows music. He just music follows
that group
him.
Was pretty good.
That was like it's like the Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah,
it's like a moment in time, and then it was gone. Cavaliers playing the Utah Jazz for 7-20 this year, and
they suck.
Now, but before you say they suck, the interesting thing is they have no discernible pattern in how they're playing their roster.
All right, so there's like just random guys showing up like Markkinen and whenever.
Look at the number of minutes. Markkinen has played 32 a game. Collins has played 30 a game. Sexton has played 28 a game. George has played 31 a game. Clarkson has played 25 a game. Kessler, the center, 29.
Wait a minute, is that Jeremy Clarkson? From which Clarkson is that? The one we had on the Cavs?
Yeah, Clarkson is the guy. Jordan Clarkson, is that
Jordan
his name?
Clarkson?
No, it's Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of Clarksons about in England.
Still waiting for her moment like that. Kessler playing 29 minutes. Sensabah playing 16.7. Mikhailiuk playing 14.5. Filipowski playing 18. Listen to this. Juzang playing 16.9 and Hendricks playing 25. I mean, I have never seen double digit, and it goes on.
But like 12 different guys. Huh?
Potter 17.3, Mills 15.3, Williams 18.7. I mean, their entire roster has played double digit numbers.
Wow.
That is just nuts.
Are they in a lot of blowouts or?
Well, they're 7-20. I mean, here's the deal. Lauri Markkinen had a great year last year. This year, he's shooting 44% from the floor, which is not particularly good, and 37 from three. Collins is shooting 52 from the floor and 42 from three. That's good. Sexton is shooting 49% from the field. That's good. And 43.8 from three, but he's only taking 4 threes. And here's some of the problem. Markkinen is taking 7 threes a game. Collins is taking 3. Sexton's taking 4. George is taking 8, but he only makes 34% of them. Markkinen only makes 37% of them. Clarkson only makes 32% of them. And he is taking 6 a game. I mean, what you have is the shooting
Clank.
isn't. Well, they're scoring 110 points a game. If you just looked at the records, Cavaliers will score 121 tonight and beat them 121 to 110. That would be just if you were just going through season average.
Funnily enough, the over-under is 232.5, which is the addition of those two numbers.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah,
Nobody does any real homework.
Who knew? Who knew that? Yeah.
And Richard, you're right. Keep ripping Dean Wade. He finally made a few shots.
Yeah, and Ty Jerome had a few shots the other day too.
Yeah, it's kind of had to light a fire under these guys.
Yeah, they're listening to this program, so if we fucking rib on them, then they suddenly fucking explode the next game.
This is a Gen Z guy right here. You see?
No,
this is a Gen Z guy.
He's just trying to agitate. Is that why
That's
you're
right.
saying he's Gen Z guy?
That's
agitation.
There's you know what? There's dickheads in every age group.
You see, and here we go. And that's what they're good for. And just take your Adderall and go away. That's
wow.
It's funny.
Yeah, Lou.
Yeah.
I don't know if you went through your Twitter messages last night, but I sent you a couple of those air checks I was telling you about yesterday.
I didn't listen to the air checks, and but I will. By the time 98 came around, I was, of course, well out of Northeast Ohio, and I was doing my thing up in upstate New York. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a hold of my some of my former people. One of them, who is my production director, has made files of all the production elements, promos, and shit we did in Flint.
Oh, wow.
And it's a hoot.
Oh, okay.
That'd be hilarious.
And I'll see if I can grab that for you, David.
No problem. I'd like that.
I mean, if for a defunct radio station, is there any legal ramifications for playing those old promos and that? Like, there's copyright or whatever? Is there a status to them? Do you own them, or are they like don't exist?
Well, I paid for them, and so they
you
float around. It's pretty much like old songs, like Bing Crosby songs that are no longer owned. Yeah. They're just
correctly, yeah.
So anyone can listen to them, anyone can play them. I don't know why they would, except that some of them are funny as hell and stuff that you'd never hear on the radio today. And I guess that was the point of it all.
That was the point, yeah.
And Ken, I don't know what your political beliefs are, Ken, because
he seems to think you're a communist, and that's
and cowards never present themselves in a way that describes what they believe. They just crack down on other people and label people. All right. But Ken, you can come clean. If you're a MAGA guy, look, you guys won the election. You have it all to yourself. You've got your Congress in line.
You got your Supreme Court. You got your everything.
Everything. You're going to make this country great again, and nothing can stop you. This time,
ain't no stopping us now.
There's no excuses.
We're on the move.
Oh, I know, Ken. I know you're just kidding. Just fucking around. Give me a break.
It's funny earlier how I heard you were singing Walking in Memphis earlier. 1991 was a horrible year for music.
Well, pretty much every year is a horrible year for music, really. Anyway.
Well, I mean, it's not as bad as listening to Cher's version of Walking in Memphis. So,
leave Cher alone.
That wasn't where she did it.
Problems. She was married to Sonny for all those years. That's like being married to Ike Turner.
1991. What was the biggest hit of 1991? Because music was changing big time.
Everything I Do by Bryan Adams.
Oh God, that was 8 months, number one.
Yep.
Something like that.
something. I'm not with me politically. I don't really have much of a political instinct. I have a moral instinct, and I'm not
nobody
real.
cares really.
I'm not real good when mentally ill people are running the government, one way or the other. I don't care what their party affiliation is. Especially when they're just talking heads and they're not the real people who are running the country. I'd like to see the people who are really running the country take a step out into the daylight, and they'd end up like the UHC CEO. They're not stupid. You're not gonna know who the big money guys are because they don't want.
Yeah, they're all hidden behind 3 different layers of political action committees.
That's right. I mean, and they're all donating gazillions of dollars to campaigns on
and they
both
get what
sides.
they want. They fucking get what they want. I mean, tort law has been changed about every single time a corporation has a problem with it. That's one example.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, Ken. There are some things that never made sense to me. All right. Only in America, as Don King would say, could RuPaul become a social phenomenon at one time. And how can you have a cryptocurrency named after the Haktua girl?
Yeah, that's.
He makes a comment about
She ripped
spitting
people
on a
off anyway.
penis, spitting on a dick. And the next thing you know, she's got cryptocurrency, and it's turned out to be kind of a scam, go figure. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, how can you explain this? That this
I have no
person
idea.
has their time in the sun? Or on the other side, what's her name? Ocasio-Cortez?
Yep.
How can you explain that these bozos, is that the kind of fresh faces we're looking for? Ay. And Ken knows about this. Yeah. It's a scam that stole people's money. And all they did is that, the people who had all the money into it made the quick and then
It got out first.
profit and bailed out. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how you make money. You fucking set something up, get other people into it, and then you get out first and watch everybody panic afterwards.
But there's a whole list of people, and you just shake your head and you say, how is it possible?
Oh, I mean, look at the clown that's got his ethics report thing coming out. Even that's made the news in England.
Yeah, the last person I knew, and it was going down on people in theaters, was Alanis Morissette. No,
wow, that's ironic.
I don't you think? Well, the Cavaliers are playing in less than an hour.
I want to find out who's hurt on the Cavaliers, because that actually means something to me.
Oh, who's hurt on the Cavaliers?
Who's hurt? Yeah, who's playing, who's not playing.
Game time decisions across the board. I know the last I heard, Max Strus is a game time decision because they don't want to rush him back too much with his knee.
Yeah.
Oh God, Luke Travers is out, but we don't care because he wouldn't play anyway. A game time decision. He's out.
He's out.
Game time decision for Sam Merrill. Last I heard.
Oh, good.
No, I mean it's going to be interesting to see. Every game has significance, and so far, the Cavaliers have beaten teams that they should beat. They haven't really, with the exception of the Hawks, which was really strange.
Those were disturbing games too. I mean, the second ones was particularly bad, and that bad game against the Heat too. I mean, but it's great that you can remember what the losses were because there's only 4 of them. You can't remember all the wins and how good they were, but you remember the losses.
But they played well. They've hung in the fourth quarter of games
and come back.
And the thing is, they have an identity of being able to score points in bunches which instead of that slow down JB Bickerstaff style of play with the grind it out, they can explode a game open in a matter of 3 minutes, man. Bam.
Yeah.
They can build up a 15, 16-point lead, bang, just like that.
In 80 seconds and 4 possessions, they can get 10, 12 points. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely mental.
So, but I really enjoy watching the team. I am really thrilled that Evan Mobley has become something more than what most people expected. When I saw him playing, I'm like, I think this guy's got more than this, but the way he was being used was not right. And, you know, that was all on JB. And I think, you know, him bringing the ball up sometimes and getting a downhill start, it's brilliant stuff because he has such long strides. But once a body stops him, he's got to pass that fucking ball. He can't be whirling around handling it because he's so tall and his arms are so long.
And
he dribbles the ball too high. Easily stolen.
Well, maybe Mobley can be that guy that the 12-year-old kids up there look up to if he gets enough publicity and he keeps improving. Maybe he can be that superstar that, you know, the league lacks that's under 25. Can only hope, man.
Well, you know, the thing with Mobley, he's the kind of guy who he has that phlegmatic, calm kind.
Yeah, he's not an out there kind of guy. He's quiet but
he's starting to lead by example. He's playing defense, blocking shots. He's muscling the ball up. He's getting rebounds. He's playing hard defense. And he's the kind of guy who teams revolve around.
He's like the Nick Chubb of the Cavs.
Or like the Tim Duncan. You know, you were talking about other players, not just Tim Duncan with the Spurs, because they had a bevy of great players.
Oh, God, Robinson, the whole lot. Yeah.
But he was the fundamental one, man, the big fundamental. And that's what Evan Mobley is becoming, is a guy who can shoot some threes. He can shoot the bank shot. He's starting to show a mid-range fadeaway. He's muscling the ball, and he's got that big, long stride down the lane, off the backboard, and then the left-handed dunk that we saw. I don't know where in the fuck that came from. Holy moly.
Holy Mobley.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Mobley.
So, all right.
Anyway,
so,
that starts in about an hour.
Yeah, I've got to get out of here. But Ron Shane is right, because if you want to test your mettle, the game's coming up. The West Coast trip is always one of the toughest ones, and I can guarantee you the toughest of them is the last game on the West Coast trip.
And then the first game back, too.
Yeah, but the last game's like, get me out of here. You know, I'm done on the West Coast. So, you know, yes, this will be an interesting time to see how the Cavaliers handle different types of adversity. But I'll be there watching along with you. And
I will be there today.
And well, I hope they do really well again tonight. Thanks, David. Thanks, Moose. And thanks for Tony when he was here before he swallowed his microphone. And everybody, thanks. And thanks a lot for being in the chat room. I appreciate all the assistance in there.
We love you all madly.
Yep. And we'll be back at the end of the week on Friday to talk about the next football loss. And we will be, because after this game, the Cavaliers are not going to be playing again until Friday. It's a very odd schedule. So we'll have time to play with ourselves between now and Friday. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.